Today I'm setting out on a winter challenge, starting in my hometown Bournemouth, where I will set out to complete a triple coast to coast. My first coast to coast will take me over 200 miles all the way across to the North Kent coastline to a little seaside town called Whitstable. From there I plan to turn around and pedal my way all the way to the west coast to Burnham-on-Sea before heading back to Bournemouth for my third and final coast to coast. Over 500 miles, 800 kilometers. With Christmas fast approaching though, I have a maximum of 9 days to complete this. So first things first was to get out of Bournemouth and head into the New Forest. Wow, December, I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's getting hot out here. It's very grey and gloomy today, but it's also very stuffy and warm. I've just come through, well, near Brockenhurst, so I've got a few more miles until Lyndhurst along the nice gravel tracks. So making good progress, nice and fast. And on this trip I decided, I mean, I could easily just take the South Downs way and that would be like the most direct, most easy way, guaranteed way of riding. But I wanted to mix it up a bit. So my plan is to stay south of the South Downs way, drop down to the coast a couple times as well, but mostly just find all the little hidden trails around the South Downs way because there are so many. And so many you miss when you're just on the South Downs way. But a few miles to Lyndhurst and then we've got to get through busy Southampton. Let's enjoy the last few miles of peaceful gravel trails before busy Southampton. I would enjoy the last of the easy, fast-rolling gravel tracks of the New Forest as I would need to start heading into the busier areas, leaving the sound of gravel under my tyres for the sound of tarmac and cars as I made my way through the city of Southampton, where the Titanic set out on its ill-fated maiden voyage in 1912. Wow, just coming through the back of Southampton now. I've done 40 miles, so making good progress. I needed to make that progress today to get through Southampton. Got a nice bit of a cruise for a few more miles, but I'm going to be starting to head up into the hills towards the South Downs. Not the South Downs way, but the South Downs very shortly. But it's already one. Sunset's at 4 p.m. Oh, it's so killer. You get to midday and it's like, oh, there's like 4 hours of daylight left. Sucks. Now in
in a battle, a race against the sun setting, I would make my way through the wet and muddy trails, but I would be heading onto a good old railway line trail, the Meon Valley Trail, once a railway line running from Fareham to Alton, transporting local livestock and agricultural produce. I always love getting onto these old rail trails as they mean some easy miles. The only thing getting in my way was the remnants still left from past storms.
Oh my god, I've done 60 miles. It's about 3 p.m, so I've got about an hour until the sun sets. You kind of see it setting over there. It never really rose, but you kind of see a bit of orange in the sky. I tell you what, I haven't ridden this bike for so long, and at 60 miles, my legs are killing me today. It takes a bit of getting used to pushing a heavier, bigger tired bike around. I haven't ridden it in so long, but I do have a bit of a tailwind, at least for now, as I'm heading across this coastline. But I do really need to start looking for somewhere to camp pretty soon. Hopefully I can find somewhere. That sky is creepy. Right, I've just done 68 miles. It's currently 4:30, so it is getting dark. I'm just currently outside a place called Lovedene, I think it was. Found little woodlands. Gonna set up camp here. Yeah, my legs are feeling it today. And that is probably the easiest day of the trip, because although I was going uphill pretty much all day, it was grindy, but it was the quicker New Forest gravel than through the Southampton, and yeah, to where I am, mostly pretty much all rideable. But man, it's mad. It's 15th, it's middle of December, and I'm sat here in a t-shirt, and it's not cold at all. Not even a little bit. I've got some little bakery stuff for dinner, and as always, I'll see Brighton early in the morning. That was quite a tiring day on the old legs. Quite a tiring one. I'll see you in the morning. That sky is creepy. Right, it's currently 7 a.m. It's still dark, so I'm gonna get a move on, because wow, it doesn't get light. Last night was really quite peaceful. It was just chilled in it. It was just really nice and quiet. It was chill. I thought it'd be a bit louder. You'd hear some cars and stuff, but not too much. Yeah, just a really comfortable night. It was just like every now and again a couple gusts of wind. It's just such a long night though. The moon is in the sky there. The sky never really felt that it got that dark, but yeah, it rained for like 2 seconds as well. Didn't even sleep with the door shut because it was just so warm. Like, it's not even cold. Even now it's not cold. I don't think it's even like 10 degrees. I think it's higher than 10 degrees. Right, let's get packed up, stop waffling, today. I want to try and get towards the High Weald National Landscape. Probably not going to quite get that far, but I'm going to be kind of going through the South Downs, then down towards Worthing, giving myself some easy miles along the coastline, and then heading back up onto like the South Downs way and crossing over. So if I can get to around there, I'll be pretty happy. If I can get a bit further than that, even better. But right, let's go. Let's get packed up. See if the sun will rise today.
After about 30 minutes of leaving camp, I was treated to an incredible sunrise. They don't seem to happen often this time of year, but when they do, they are the best. It was a perfect morning, a perfect but tough morning, as I was starting to climb into the South Downs National Park. The hill's steep, but the South Downs has some of the best trails in the south. And the views? Well, they're not so bad either.
Whoa, good old climbing this morning. That's Chichester over my shoulder that you probably can't really see. Coming up to the 20-mile mark for today, which means very shortly, once I get to the top of all these hills, I'm going to be heading down to the coastline. And the great news is today I've got a bit of a tailwind. Not very strong, but it is going in the right direction, which means along the coast my easy section has just got a little bit easier. Oh, it's a nice day out here though today. Some blue skies, some clouds, but more importantly, no rain. Right, let's keep climbing and finally descend towards that coastline.
While it had been a beautiful morning on the trails, it had been slow going with all the climbing, so it was a welcome break to hit that point where I'd start to slowly descend back towards the coast, weaving my way through the endless trails around the South Downs.
Right, I made it to Goring-on-Sea, which means I'm at the sea, and which means I've got some nice, easy, flat miles with a beautiful, nice tailwind, and it's all flat, pretty much following the coast now until Brighton, and then I'll be heading back up to the South Downs, actually onto the South Downs Way, just to go over the top of it. Ditchling Beacon, I think that's where I'm going over. But yeah, I've done 40 miles a day. The South Downs is just so much fun to ride because, you know, everyone does the South Downs Way, but there's so many more trails all the way around, like the South Downs, and it's just so good. There's bridleways everywhere. You just come to a bit and it's like 4 directions, all bridleways, you can just go. So many little forest tracks, just great fun. And today has been good fun, but hard work, which means I've made myself a baguette with some beef and some chili sauce stuff. It's the cheapest stuff I could find, and it doesn't really get out of this bottle too well. Right, eat this and then crack on, because it's already 1:30, which means if I can get to the high worlds, if I can get to Brighton and then over the South Downs, that'd be great, but it might be dark by the time I finish again. Food time. I'm at the top now. I am right on top of the South Downs. Amazing views, although it's starting to get dark, so I need to descend down there and find somewhere in that direction to camp. I was hoping to not go into the night too many times on this trip, but it looks like, especially now, I might have to. It's very windy up here. I'm going to descend, hopefully find somewhere to camp shortly. It's currently 4:30. I've done nearly 60 miles, 56 miles or something. So nearly there. So that's not bad going for today. But if I don't see you at camp, I'll see you at Brighton early as always in the morning. Time to go downhill. Woo! That was a killer of a climb. I'm glad the wind is in my favour. Let's go down. Good morning. As you can hear, it's a little rainy out there. Last night was a bit of a slog. As soon as the sun set, I basically just ended up having to go through a couple of built up areas at the worst time possible because it was rush hour, so it was super busy. So I just absolutely hammered it as fast as I could to get through it, as all of this built up traffic sewer places. Did mean I managed to get a good amount of miles done, but oh my god, I just bonked so hard. Like, I'm bonking, eating quiche. I can't bother to turn my torch on. I'm shoveling quiche in my mouth. You don't want to see that. The quiche was good though, but with getting through all their miles to find somewhere to camp, getting out through all the built up places, I did manage to do 75 miles, which is good news for trying to get home before Christmas. But as I say, it's a bit wet, it's a bit drizzly out there today. Hopefully it won't last all day, but getting out of the tent in the rain is never fun. I'm a few miles away from a place called Forest Gate, where I'm hoping I can get some breakfast if it's not raining really heavy and there's somewhere to sit. And then I got a nice old railway line pretty much all the way to Royal Tunbridge Wells, which should be nice. But first of all, I've got to get out of this wet, miserable tent and see what the wet, miserable day has in store for us. Right, let's make a move. Hate getting out of the tent when it's raining. It is misty and grim out here today.
The difference a day makes. Today was a stark difference to yesterday morning. With the drizzling rain and gloomy morning, definitely a day I'd rather just lay in my tent. But I had to keep making progress if I was ever going to make it home in time for Christmas. I was just happy that I was starting my day on another old railway trail for some easy miles.
A miserable day today. It's very grey. It's kind of misty rain. It's just cold and wet. I've just come through Tunbridge Wells. I'm just actually a little bit past in a place called Pembury. I'm at Tesco. I'm munching on loads of food. I've done about 15 miles this morning. It's been quite nice and plain sailing, really. Just a nice long old railway line, which is always nice. I am going to be leaving the High Weald natural landscape very shortly, heading towards the Kent Downs. The goal for today is to just try and get as close to Canterbury as possible. I probably could make the coast today, but it's about 40 miles, 45 miles until around like the Kent Downs area where I want to get to camp, and then tomorrow morning I can get to the coast, because otherwise I'll be riding into the night quite a bit. This sauce is like spicy, and when you squeeze the bottle it either doesn't come out or it just comes out loads, so my mouth's on fire as well. But you know, while it's cold I just cycle with my mouth open.
It didn't seem to matter how hard I pedalled. Today it was cold, it was miserable, and trying to cross from the High Weald to the Kent Downs meant lots and lots of tarmac.
What a slog that was. Just a big long road slog. It's nice to be in the Kent Downs now though, on some familiar trails on the North Downs way for a little bit. Just nice to get off road really. And I've done about 43 miles, so maybe 15-20 more. We'll have an early night, hopefully get to camp before it gets dark. I was looking at the weather earlier and it says windy and like 75% chance of rain, so it looks like it might be a wet one tomorrow. It might be a wet one for the rest of this trip, who knows. Doesn't look like it's gonna be a white Christmas. When is there ever? Let's finally go and enjoy some off-road trails. Nice of them to put a diversion up at the start of the trail. Can't get through. It looks like I think I just take a footpath down to the road and then come back up. Why can't you just put a diversion up at the start? I think I can go down here. Technically it's a footpath, but whatever. I'm very, very close to Canterbury now. I'm in two minds if to carry on, get a few extra miles done, because it's currently only at 2:30. I've done about 55, but I'm in the woods where I kind of was thinking to camp, and there's lots of places to camp. There is potentially a spot after Canterbury to camp, but I'm just thinking, do I risk it and end up having to ride into the night? But then am I going to regret not doing these 10 miles or so in a day or two when it's probably pissing down with rain? Oh, it's a tough one. I don't know, because there's so many camp spots around here. As you can see, it's basically not been light today. It's going to be dark in about an hour and a half. What to do? Part of me wants to carry on, get through Canterbury, and then camp just outside the coastline bit. But I'm not 100% sure there will be a suitable camp spot. But around here, there's lots. Decisions.
I decided to take the risk of leaving that perfect camp spot in hopes of getting some extra miles under my belt. By doing so, I would see the first sign of my first coast-to-coast destination. But it also left me looking for somewhere to camp under the moonlight.
Good morning. Wow. Last night I didn't quite get to camp before it got dark, obviously, but I did manage to find somewhere to camp. It wasn't quite as easy as I had hoped, because it's one of them woods where nothing's really, the ground's not very good to camp at, but I managed to find this tiny little spot, which was actually the perfect spot, because as maybe you can hear, it's really bloody windy. There's a bit of rain in the air as well, but it's mainly just very windy right now. But I'm really sheltered from it. It was a really nice and warm night, and yeah, the wind wasn't even hitting my tent, so that was pretty good. I did well though, because I'm only a few miles away from Whitstable. I'm probably like within the hour until I get there, and then that'll be our first coast to coast. But as always, I'm waking up and it's not even light yet. Sun rises in about an hour, but I want to get on. Maybe get to the coast as the sun rises, maybe. Let's get packed up and on our way. Today looks like the further as I turn around back to head towards Benham-on-Sea, I'm heading into all the rain, so it's going to get wet and miserable, and probably going to be a bit of a headwind. Right, let's get packed up, and day 4 of the triple coast to coast. Let's keep going. Wow, no time to enjoy the coast today. Gotta get a move on. We are going to be battling into this wind today. It's brutal. I've got about 60 miles left of this section of the route to go. So in my mind yesterday I was like, I should be able to get that done, or get pretty close. But I don't know, with this wind, It is battering me. I've got to follow the coastline until Faversham, and then I'll be back up climbing into the Kent Downs. So hopefully when I get up there, I might get a bit of shelter from this coastal wind, but I don't know, it's tough going. Oh, let's just keep battling into this wind.
Although I had completed the first coast to coast, there was no time to stop and enjoy that milestone. As if I was ever going to make it home for Christmas, I needed to get through the miles today. And my God, did nature not want me to do that? Every mile was slow, every mile was hard work. The wind was relentless, and I was just hoping to get back to the Kent Downs, hoping to find some tree-lined sheltered trails for some respite.
My legs are fried today. So tired, and this wind is still beating me up. I have done nearly 30 miles, and I do have around 40 or so, just under 40 I think, to go of this section of the route. I was thinking it took me about 3 days to go from Bournemouth to Whitstable, from Whitstable to Burnham-on-Sea is a little bit longer, not majorly longer, but maybe like a day's more ride. So it might take me 4 days, and then that would leave me 2 days to get from Burnham-on-Sea back to Bournemouth. But that really depends on today, because everything's slow, everything's a slog, and I'm getting hungry. I'm for a good old Ginsters. Just in time for the sun as well. Cheers. I tell you what, these hedgerows are the only reason I'm making any progress today. They're sheltering me just enough. If I just duck down, I can get a little bit of a respite from that wind. That was a nice stop, and the sun has actually come out. It's not raining. That's like the great thing. Find the silver lining. And having to go into a headwind sucks, but it does mean the weather just blows over your head. But oh, it's just so nice to feel the sun. It's actually warm as well. I have to take this jacket off in a minute. Don't know if that's the way I was meant to go. Okay, all right, so I've got about, let's stop here a minute. God, it's windy. Right, I've got about 37 miles of this section left. This section ends near a place called Oxted, or in Oxted. I'm going to try and get as close to that as possible. There's nice woodlands as well, just before, which will be perfect for camping, hopefully. Well, and I think this wind is bringing in more rain from about 6 p.m, so I want to try and make sure I'm in camp before that rainstorm hits, so I don't have to get into camp and get all dry and everything. But the sun is shining now, the wind is still blowing in my face, but onwards to Burnham-on-Sea. It's if you squint really hard, you can almost see it. There's the west coast over there somewhere.
Now that I had some shelter from the wind, I was able to actually feel like I was making some progress, and the rest of the day would end up being a fun one, making my way along the North Downs Way, sheltered from the wind with all the single track trails and great views of the rolling countryside. It was a blast, a welcome change from this morning.
Well, not long until the sun sets, literally like 10 minutes. It's not even 4 o'clock and the sun is setting. Too tired. Today has been one of them days where I've just had to keep telling myself just to sit on the bike and just keep pedaling. It's been very slow going, but with that mindset I did manage to do just under 60 miles so far. I'm hoping to camp in one of these woodlands somewhere around here. I'm just kind of climbing the last little climb on this section and have a nice easy morning down into wherever it is, Odstead, I can't remember. Today has been a brutal one. Wind, I'm going to check what that wind is doing tomorrow. Hopefully it's not in my face again. Well, currently the wind is 18 mile an hour. Let's have a look. Well, it's not gonna be, not looking, what time is that? 3 in the morning. Okay, tomorrow it's still gonna be a headwind. I'm somewhere around here and I'm heading across here all the way to somewhere here. There's Burnham-on-Sea. Well, but it is less. It's tomorrow's going to be about 15. At least it's only going to be about 15 instead of like in the 20s tomorrow, but it is still going to be a headwind. But because it's kind of going to be changing to be going more south, if it stays that way, once I get to Burnham, it could be a tailwind all the way back to Bournemouth. That would be nice, but that's still quite a few miles away. I actually managed to do 60 today. I found somewhere to camp, and you might be able to hear just in time because it's just started to rain. That was an exhausting day. I am going to sleep well tonight, and as always, I'll see Brighton early in the morning. Got like 10 miles left of this section of the route, and then finally on to the next bit. So we're basically halfway now. Halfway, 4 days, maximum 9 days. We might have a day to spare if we can keep this pace up. But as always, I see Brighton early in the morning. I'm so tired. Good morning. As you can see, it's another still dark morning. Last night, you know, even though the nights are so long, you know, you're in the tent from like 4:30, 5 o'clock until 7 in the morning, and you know, it's still not light. Last night though, I had something to eat and I just put my head on the pillow and I just didn't wake up till about like 4 o'clock this morning. When it was raining. Actually, it was raining at 12, I think, as well. I woke up a few times, but yeah, I slept really well. I've got 7 miles to get to Oxted. I'm probably going to grab some breakfast or something there, and then on today, hopefully we'll
probably ending somewhere maybe after the Surrey Hills, in the Surrey Hills. I'm not really sure. Just going to take it as it is. All this trip's been quite warm, I've been saying, but today, this morning, oh my god, it feels like winter has arrived. It is pretty cold. It's a bit drizzly and rain. It doesn't feel too windy where I am, but I think it is quite windy. It was pretty windy in the night as well. Right, on to Oxted we go. I think this morning calls for the gloves as well, because it is definitely too cold. Let's go.
From t-shirt to coat to gloves, that wind from yesterday was still about, but today it was bitter, and the trails now soaked through meant I would have to work hard to find my breakfast.
This morning it's not particularly going that well. It's just full of mulch. Nah, not much riding going on. The sun is shining though, that's nice. The wind isn't hitting me too hard, but when it does, it's bitterly cold. I just come through Oxted. I thought I was going to go through the middle of it, but I went around the side of it, so I haven't actually found a shop yet, so no breakfast yet. Oh, look at this. So I'm hoping pretty soon I will find a shop, because I'm getting hungry and this hiker bike slog is boring me.
I was now over halfway off this triple coast to coast challenge, and with the sun now fully risen in the sky, I would be making my way towards the Surrey Hills, stopping briefly at Reigate Fort, which sits proudly on top of Reigate Hill in Surrey. Was built in 1898 as part of London's defence scheme, the British government's attempt to protect London and the south coast from attack by their greatest adversary, the French.
Miles so far today. It's looking like I might end up having to ride into the darkness a little bit tonight if I'm going to get 50-60 miles, because it's been a bit of a grind, a bit of a slow going in places, lots of sludge. But once I get up this climb, I think it's pretty much downhill for a good while at least. I'm hoping I can get towards a place called Alton, and that'll be around 50 miles or so. that's the idea. But I'm currently by Dorking, so still another 20-30 miles to go, and getting hungry again. I can't believe today though, it's just turned out to be like beautiful. The wind is bitter and cold, but this is like perfect riding conditions really. Sheltered from the wind, sun is shining, happy days. There's Santa's beard.
Being so close to London, it always feels so unexpected just how much woodland surrounds it. And as I would continue to pedal my way through it, the sun would start to set as I would start to search for somewhere to sleep once more.
Good morning. It is nice and chilly out here this morning. So I've just woken up. Yesterday I did manage to do about 55 miles. Had to go into the night a little bit, but I found a nice little woodland you can't see because obviously it's still completely dark. I've got about 215-ish miles to go. I'm probably 10 miles away from where I wanted to get to yesterday, about Alton. Today I'm starting a little earlier. It's about, well, not that early, it's 7. Because today I really need to get at least into the Cranbourne Chase area, because it's the 20th of December. That means there's 4 days until I need to get home. And I've got about 65 miles to do today to get there. I've got to go around Winchester and then through Salisbury to get there. So I'm hoping it won't be too bad. I'm hoping the trails will be not as muddy as yesterday, because that was pretty slow going in places. But if it can be quick, after around 10 miles, once I come through Alton, I've got a bit of a climb, and then it's mostly in my favour for the most part until towards the end. It's a bit up and down, but I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make good progress, and hopefully still be able to make it back for Christmas. I think I'm on schedule, but who knows.
Oh my god, sun has risen. Oh my god, it is cold. It must have been at least 0, because there was frost everywhere. Leaves are all frosty, the cars were all frosted up. I just come through Alton, so now heading off road. And luckily, because it is quite cold, most of the ground's kind of frozen, so it's not quite as slippery and muddy as yesterday yet. I've got about 200 miles of this route left, 4 days. So in theory, as long as I do 50 miles from now, every day, I will make it. But I'm gonna try and do a bit more today. Oh, just think, a couple of days ago, I was just cycling in a t-shirt, and now it's gloves, buff, everything. It's cold, but beautiful. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd take this over scorching hot sunshine, honestly.
Today, I felt good on the bike, the crisp, fresh air and the miles just ticking by. The wind had died down today and I was able to sit and pedal as I made my way along the rolling countryside trails towards Winchester. I was making good progress as well, even finding myself pedaling along a very conveniently named hill.
I've got to stop for a minute. Done 40 miles, about 12:30. So making very good progress, I would say. Just found a bench that's not really a bench anymore, but it will do. I think I'm around 10 miles, 15 miles until Salisbury. Feeling it really in the legs today. It's been a very pedally day. It's very like undulating and nice countryside, but that does mean pedal. Got a few ups and downs. Just looking forward to getting to Salisbury. But I'm just having a little bonk snack of some Haribo, and then we'll crack on. What happened to all the sun? I've done just under 60 miles, just come through Salisbury, and obviously it started to rain. I've got a couple more miles to go until I know roughly where I'm going to try and set up camp tonight, but oh, how bloody typical is that? It starts raining just as I'm nearly finished. A few miles and I'm in the Cranbourne Chase. I'm trying to find somewhere to camp. Everywhere is just completely flooded. And what's worse is I've snapped my cable from my dynamo, so now my lights aren't, well, they're kind of just like slowly dying. There's no way I can fix it in the dark. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to fix it in the light. It's just so frustrating. So frustrating. I'm going to see if I can set up a tent around here, but honestly the ground's so wet, it's just like sinking. And this is not good. I'm so fed up now. Why does it have to happen like now? All the time. Of all times for something like this to happen. Always has to happen at night, when it's raining, when it's miserable, and it just happen in the day. I'll be able to fix it.
Unfortunately, this is where my journey would come to an end, as not only was the cable snapped on the dynamo lights, but the plug had come off somewhere. With only around 150 miles left to complete this triple coast-to-coast challenge, it was gutting to stop here, but sometimes bikepacking is as much about knowing when to call it as it is about pushing through. Safety always has to come first, even when the adventure tugs at you to keep going.